Mira Business FM. The sound of success.
This is the morning drive at Mira Business FM. Over 75% of companies have no succession plan, and leadership burnout and disengagement cost the global economy $7.8 trillion. That's the estimate last year, one of the estimates last year. In fact, some studies estimate specific healthcare costs of burnout at $190 billion annually in the US, $322 billion globally. That's due to lost productivity. The wider economic drag of disengagement is estimated by Gallup to be even higher than that 7.8 trillion number at 8.8 trillion number. So it's a huge financial cost in terms of enterprise value and legacy. Just how much of a push to rethink corporate wellness, not as a costly perk, but as a strategic investment in performance and resilience and long-term growth, are we really seeing, though? That's the question this morning. One of the questions for Dr Espen Wold-Jensen, who is a neuroscience and quantum physics researcher and the founder of Quantum Academy, and he's here. Good to meet you.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Good to have you here. It's a huge topic, this. What I want to do is explore your framework for fusing quantum science, neuroscience, and conscious strategy to build resilient leadership and protect wealth. But can we start with the scale of the problem? And that number there, whether it's 7.8 or 8.8 trillion, it's trillions, lost to burnout and disengagement. So what's driving that?
The bottom line is chronic stress.
Right.
Chronic stress. So your KPIs are high, your lifestyle's fast, you're addicted to the phone. What ends up happening is poor decision making and chronic stress sets in. That affects our sleep, our lifestyle, our decision making, and overall the retention of key talent. So when we really look at the breakdown and the burnout of what's happening, it's a systemic issue globally. Some countries worse than others, but it's really chronic stress, unmanaged chronic stress.
So why are we also... I was sat last night thinking about this, and I kept coming back to a similar point with lots of the questions that I was thinking, I want to ask this, I definitely need to ask that. That's a really key question. And it was really simply this. Why are we also late to the party in terms of identifying that actually stress is not a good thing at all?
Well, stress can be good. Like, for example, if you go to the gym and exercise, you're putting healthy stress into the body. But that is conscious short-term stress that's deliberately done to manage chronic stress.
Sure.
But when you say stress is not good, you're absolutely right, because the majority of stress is chronic stress, unmanaged stress. Yeah. And as soon as we are in a state of chronic stress, this sympathetic dominance, we make poor decisions, we're emotionally volatile, and obviously we lose key talent, as I mentioned before. So the issue is we want to have key talent and retain them for a long time. We want to be very successful. We want to hit our KPIs and improve our bottom line. But in the process, we're not measuring stress. We have great data on our businesses and our finances. Our data is obviously key. But many decision makers, board, C-suite key talent have never been measured for their health. They don't know how healthy or sick they are.
It's interesting that, because so many businesses, in the end, all businesses are people businesses, because there are people in them, and we need to manage people in the right way, and managing people is key to your business success. So it seems like common sense. There's this growing need to enhance productivity and morale, to reduce healthcare expenses. That all makes sense. Lower absenteeism means healthier, better off workplaces, right? So that drives growth in the corporate wellness market as well. That's another aside. But again, and it's my same question to you, we're not learning the lesson.
Yeah. I think part of the reason for that is that a lot of people see corporate wellness or wellness solutions for their staff members as a perk, not as a strategic advantage.
But it's a costly perk.
Oh, it's the most costly perk. Yeah. Like, for example, we've seen some of the studies that we've reviewed as well, that for every dollar a company would spend in corporate wellness or wellness solutions, they save $5.82 in reduced absenteeism and sick days. Like, that is an incredible return. And if we don't look at it that way, we have long-term plans for the business, some businesses, of course, some companies, some corporations, but we have short-term, if at all, plans for our staff. So we can't see wellness as a perk. We have to see it as a long-term strategic advantage. And that's the difference.
So people are not disposable is the point here, isn't it? From any aspect, particularly a corporate aspect. So when you say corporate wellness has to become or should become a strategic investment, what does that look like beyond, gym classes or you get a discount at the gym or something?
It's a multi-layered strategy across different parts of the organization. So, for example, at the C-suite level, what we normally recommend is actually doing some functional medicine testing. It's really inexpensive, it's really fast to do. But again, if we don't have data, we can't make good decisions. So for the key talent, C-suite and board, we normally do functional medicine tests, look at stress levels, look at hormone levels, look at gut health, and overall lifestyle. And, we can do them some subjective testing as well. How are you feeling? How is your emotions and your thoughts? How is your sleep?
Are you asking me at the moment?
No, well, we could go there if you want.
How was my sleep last night? I've got to stop tracking it because it's not good enough. No, but I mean, these are important things. But so it extends far wider than the things that we would automatically associate.
Exactly. So people think, corporate wellness is a discount to the gym or a yoga class. It's not that at all. These are some of the pathways, but it's really about data. To see is to know, not to see is to guess. Don't guess with your key talent. Don't guess with the people that are the driving engine of your corporation. As you mentioned, we're all in the people business. Even with AI now, we need key talent. Yeah. So what we do is we implement a structured, multi-layered approach where we get the data from functional medicine testing, from the C-suite and upper management, middle management, lifestyle and stress management, extremely inexpensive. And again, the ROI comes back in reduced sick days. And for the lower management, some group classes, some breaks, some meditation classes, and it's really, it can be done virtually as well. So there are different approaches, and we normally tailor it based on the needs of the organization. And it takes about 12 to 16 weeks to see a literal turnaround on the bottom line as well.
Okay, so what kinds of approaches should corporates be taking to address the root causes? Because you've got to get to the heart of this, haven't you? Yeah. The root causes of poor corporate wellness, toxic culture, workloads that, really you shouldn't have to manage, supporting people in the right way, mental health, what approaches do we need to put into place? I know that's a very broad question, but it's important to ask.
Well, it's a very important question to ask. And you mentioned mental health. That is one of the greatest challenges that we see now. It's coming in faster than ever before, particularly after the pandemic. This has become a major issue. I think that what decision makers need to look at is the sustainability of the individual in each role. So, for example, if we have a key talent decision maker, we do not want that key talent to be in a state of stress. When we're in a state of stress, we make bad decisions, we're irrational, and we don't really deploy the right kind of leadership by example. Right. So how do we look at it? I think it depends on the corporation, but the bottom line is make a decision. Do you currently have wellness solutions or corporate wellness programs for your staff? If you don't, you're going to burn out talent while trying to scale. That's not scalable long-term in general. If you then want to take care of your people because your people take care of your business, then how far do you want to go? Do you just want the basics, or do you want to go so far that your key talent, C-suite board, whatever it might be, have the necessary data and resources to get healthier over time? Because there's three things that'll happen. One, you're going to get sicker over time. Two, you're basically going to stagnate and maybe stay where you are. Or three, you are going to improve your health. You want to improve your business. You want to scale your business. You want to, have, increased value. You need to then increase the value that you're giving to your employees. And it costs less than it returns. And that's the key.
You integrate neuroscience, which I have no background in at all, and I'm a little bit intimidated by it, if I'm honest, because I want to try and get things right, really. But you integrate neuroscience and breath work into executive performance. I've read some bits and pieces about you, but I'm interested in what that looks like, how it works in practice, and also what the science says about how stress affects decision-making right at the top.
Exactly. Well. So let's start with neuroscience. We perceive our entire reality through our nervous system.
Right.
Right? There's two parts to what's called the autonomic nervous system, which is how we perceive reality. Okay? There is the sympathetic, which is the fight or flight, the stress response, the survival mechanism.
Right.
And then the parasympathetic, which is when we're in a beautiful, relaxed state. Right? At the moment, as we look at neurology around the world and people around the world, in most modern countries, most people are living in a state of what's called sympathetic dominance, survival, stress, fight or flight. So they get up in the morning, they might have their coffee, they might start looking at their WhatsApp, scrolling through, and what happens is that their body is constantly in a state of survival. When you're in a state of survival, you're operating in what's called the lower mind or the lower brain, the hindbrain, and which is the brainstem, and also the amygdala. When you're operating from survival, you're not able to be creative. You reduce your decision-making capabilities. You're now in a state of stress, and so you're not actually able to think ahead of what's happening. You see very short or narrow-minded. So when you're in a state of stress and you're in a state of survival, it directly impacts the business because you're not thinking long-term. You're not thinking coherently or creatively.
Okay.
So to then change that, from sympathetic dominance to what we call parasympathetic dominance. The research is really simple on this. The most powerful, effective, and may I add, completely free of charge strategy is breath. Because breath is scientifically proven to have power over the autonomic nervous system. So let's do this now. Just a breath in through the nose.
Okay.
Into the belly. And out of the nose, out of the belly. You just took a nose breath into the lower belly. This has been proven to down-regulate the stress response. So imagine this. You're on the Zoom call. Things are busy. Stakes are high. Time is short. What do? Breathe.
We do that, don't we? If somebody annoys you, there's very often a tendency to do this. Let me just come back at you. And that's how much of us respond. So that is kind of innate in us.
Yep. The problem, though, is that most people are breathing through their mouth. When you're breathing through the mouth...
I see. So the nose is...
Yes, that's the key.
Okay.
So for listeners out there now, for those watching, this is key. This is so simple. When we're breathing through the mouth, we're turning on the fight or flight system. Because think about it. Millions of years ago, if you had to run away from a predator, you're not going to breathe through your mouth. You're not getting enough oxygen. So you're going to breathe through you're not going to breathe through your nose, my apologies. You're going to breathe through your mouth to get enough oxygen. So then when you are in sympathetic dominance, fight or flight stress response, moving into chronic fatigue and burnout, by the way, that's the whole thing. Most people are actually already in adrenal fatigue and burnout. And if they're not in it, they're on their way to it. And it's easy to measure. We can do some baseline tests to find out what the cortisol is. Fasting cortisol and cortisol over time will show you exactly where you are. So nonetheless, I digress. I get so excited about this topic. The way to change it is so simple. Breathe through your nose. In a Zoom meeting, if you're not presenting, close your mouth, breathe through your nose. In the car in rush hour traffic, put your phone away, take 10 deep breaths. If you're driving right now, 10 deep breaths in and out through the nose, and already you're down-regulating the amygdala. The hindbrain is settling down. You're activating the prefrontal cortex, and you're creating what's called heart-brain coherence. Just by breathing through the nose, you will significantly be more coherent, and as such, respond better, lead better, and of course, be much healthier.
Okay. So, no, I can feel that, and it does make sense. You know, the advice very often is if you are stressed or you're worried about something, just, take a moment, take a breath. And so that kind of makes sense. So I'm with you. You just made a point there that many of us are much closer to burnout than we would realize, and some of us are actually burned out without realizing it. So what are the warning signs? And this doesn't just apply to leadership teams in organizations, I don't think. But what are the warning signs that we are approaching burnout? Even if a company's doing great, the financial results are brilliant, and everybody seems to be happy, there are signs, I guess.
Yeah, 100%.
Right.
Fatigue, poor sleep, emotional irregulation. You laugh.
There's a few touch points there.
Tick, 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 tick,
Yeah,
tick. Right. So poor sleep, fatigue, the feeling that you need stimulants. If you feel like, oh my gosh, I need a coffee, you're probably already in chronic, not necessarily chronic fatigue, but certainly in fight or flight. Right. You'll notice emotional irregulation. you're feeling emotional, you feel anxious, you feel like there's never enough time to get the things done, and you feel like you just need to keep on pushing. Now, here's the biggest one. With emotion, this is interesting because people think that they act based on thought, and we do sometimes, but often we react based on emotion.
Right.
Right? When we're in a state of fight or flight, the primary emotion is fear-based.
Gotcha.
Stress, anxiety, worry, whatever it might be. And when we're in a state of parasympathetic presence, love, peace, joy, enthusiasm, gratitude, so on and so forth, we don't act always based on thought. If a person goes out and buys a Ferrari, did you buy it because it's a good financial investment? Not necessarily. You buy it because of how it makes you feel. Nothing wrong with a Ferrari, but the point is, what makes us do the things that we do, and it's emotion. When we're in a state of fight or flight, the emotions that we experience are those of guilt, fear, shame, grief, stress. As I say, procrastination, hesitation, frustration, desperation, and sometimes depression. Why? Because we're in a state of survival. So if your primary states of emotion is not peace, joy, enthusiasm, love, gratitude, happiness based, that's probably a sign that you're either in adrenal fatigue or you may be heading into adrenal fatigue. Unless you've had an incident in life lately, but let's say chronically over time, if you don't feel really good about life, that's probably a good sign or a big sign.
Okay, so what do you do then to build... Resilience is the word at the moment, isn't it? It's everywhere. We're all about resilience these days, I guess. But how do you build that?
Well, the first thing is to get the data, right? So if you look at the business, if you're going to buy a business, what do you look at? You want to look at all the financials. You want to look at the key talent. You want to look at how long it's been operating. You get the data, right? So right now, if I was to ask listeners and viewers, what is the data on your health? You mentioned that you're tracking your sleep. So you got some data on your sleep.
Yeah, far too much.
Right?
It's not always positive.
I know, and this is, the data isn't always what we want to see, but without the data, we can't make decisions.
Sure.
So step number one is, as I said before, to see is to know, not to see is to guess. Don't guess with your health. And we see this, right? What happens when people get older? They have the money, they have the wealth, they have sometimes the fame. What don't they have?
Ain't that the truth? No, I mean, look, I've had health challenges in the last few years, and things are now getting better, but it was quite a serious diagnosis in 2020, so it took 4 or 5 years to get through that. So I'm very aware of that. So that hence my tracking, and I do try to keep up with data to think, well, I need to do something about this. I need to go to bed earlier. I'm not very good at doing it, but, I'm trying to get better. That's the point. So it's really as simple as that. You start to gather data, and then everything stems from there.
Exactly. So one of the things you can get, a Whoop band, an Aura ring, these sort of measurable wearable devices that'll give you your heart rate variability. That's a really key one. If your HRV is low, it means that you're in chronic fight or flight, or your cardiovascular system is not very healthy. Your heart rate variability should be coherent at around, say, 60 to 120 if you're an adult, give or take. And you'll notice that it drops quite significantly when you're having alcohol, when you're stressed, when you're not sleeping properly, and so on. So getting a measurable wearable tech, like I wear one around my ankle, actually, because I don't like to have it around my wrist, but it gives me the data that I need, right? Okay. The next step is to do functional medicine assessments.
I just love the fact that it's around your ankle.
I know. I had it around my wrist for a long time, and eventually I just thought, you know what, I like wearing a nice watch. I just want to get it off my wrists for a little bit. So you can use it there as well.
Right.
But the key is get something to track it and then measure what reduces your heart rate variability, what reduces your overall recovery score, and what increases it. Toxic lifestyle and stress. Chronic stress is the killer. That's really the issue. And the numbers that you mentioned to start this conversation are mind-boggling, and it's getting worse. So leaders, we have two choices. One, we invest in our key talent now, and everyone in the organization, we see an ROI on the bottom line, and we scale the people with the companies. Or two, we continue to scale the company and burn the people out and lose the key talent.
I wanted to talk to you about ROI because I wonder how you measure ROI on something like conscious leadership or executive resilience training. How do you do that?
Well, we'll look at different studies, right? The biggest one at the moment is the resilience in terms of the retention of staff. So when you have high pace, we keep pushing, we want to meet the next KPIs, we have obligations from shareholders and so on. When we push harder, if we don't recover as well, we burn out. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
So we measure it. The number one metric is absenteeism and sick days. Okay, so we see a significant reduction in absenteeism and sick days when we deploy these protocols. The second one is healthcare cost. We really want to look at healthcare cost. One of the studies that we often benchmark is a 72% of employers quote a significant reduction in healthcare cost when deploying proactive things. It's like health, right? Like if you take care of yourself before you break down, it's easy and the return is great. I mean, it's just the same. You know what it means to be healthy, but do we always do it? No. But if you structure it, it'll happen. And the third one is for every dollar invested is approximately $3 that comes back into the bottom line of the company. So that's literally the ROI on that wellness investment. So these are the three benchmarks. But then we can, of course, look at staff retention and other things like that.
There's a load more I want to say. We're out of time, unfortunately, but will you come back?
Sure. If you're having me back.
We'll be inviting you back, I'm sure. Dr. Espen Wold-Jensen is a neuroscientist, a quantum physics researcher, and he is also, let me just get this right, the founder of Quantum Academy. I appreciate talking to you. Thank you for coming in.
It's been a privilege.
Good to have you here. This is Mira Business FM.